I just got a notification on the phone. There we go.
You seeing me?
Yep.
Seeing us? All right. Yeah, that was my bad.
I just got a notification on the phone.
right.
There we go.
Carmelita, I know
seeing
you're
me?
here. Give us a thumbs
Yep.
up. Us? All right. Yeah, that was my bad.
I just got a notification on the phone.
right.
There we go.
Carmelita, I
bad.
know
See me?
you're here. Give us a thumbs
Yep.
up.
I'm sorry
All
about
right.
that. I
Yeah,
had
that
my-
was
I
that
had
was
the,
my bad.
I had my YouTube on. I just
no.
got a notification on the
All
phone.
right.
There we go.
Carmelita, I know
See
you're
me?
here. Give us a thumbs
Yep.
up.
I'm sorry
All
about
right.
that.
Yeah, that was my bad.
Sorry about that. I had my YouTube on. I just got a notification on the
All
phone.
right.
There we go.
Carmelita, I know
See
you're
me?
here. Give us a thumbs
Yep.
up.
I'm sorry
All
about
right.
that.
Yeah, that was my bad.
Sorry about that. I had my YouTube on. I just got a notification on the phone. There we go.
Carmelita, I know
See me?
you're here. Give us a thumbs
Yep.
up.
I'm sorry
All
about
right.
that.
Yeah, that was my
Sorry
bad.
about that. I had my YouTube on. I just got a notification on the phone. There we go.
Carmelita, I know you're here. Give us a thumbs
Yep.
up.
I'm
All
sorry about
right.
that.
Yeah, that was my bad.
Sorry about that. I had my YouTube on. I just got a notification on the phone. There we go.
Carmelita, I know you're here. Give us a thumbs
Yep.
up. All right. Yeah, that was my bad.
Sorry about that. I had my YouTube on. I just got a notification on the phone. There we go.
Carmelita, I know you're here. Give us a thumbs
Yep.
up. All right. Yeah, that was my bad.
Sorry about that. I had my YouTube on. I just got a notification on the phone. There we go.
Carmelita, I know you're here. Give us a thumbs up. All right. Yeah, that was my bad.
Sorry about that. I had my YouTube on. I just got a notification on the phone. There we go.
Carmelita, I know you're here. Give us a thumbs up. All right. Yeah, that was my bad.
Sorry about that. I had my YouTube on. I just got a notification on the phone. There we go.
Carmelita, I know you're here. Give us a thumbs up. All right. Yeah, that was my bad.
Sorry about that. I had my YouTube on. I just got a notification on the phone. There we go.
Carmelita, I know you're here. Give us a thumbs up. All right. Yeah, that was my bad.
Sorry about that. I had my YouTube on. I just got a notification on the phone. There we go.
Carmelita, I know you're here. Give us a thumbs up. All right. Yeah, that was my bad.
Sorry about that. I had my YouTube on. I just got a notification on the phone. There we go.
Carmelita, I know you're here. Give us a thumbs up. All right. Yeah, that was my bad.
Sorry about that. I had my YouTube on. I just got a notification on the phone. There we go.
Carmelita, I know you're here. Give us a thumbs up. All right. Yeah, that was my bad.
Sorry about that. I had my YouTube on. I just got a notification on the phone. There we go.
Carmelita, I know you're here. Give us a thumbs up. All right. Yeah, that was my bad.
Sorry about that. I had my YouTube on. I just got a notification on the phone. There we go.
Carmelita, I know you're here. Give us a thumbs up. All right. Yeah, that was my bad.
Sorry about that. I had my YouTube on. I just got a notification on the phone. There we go.
Carmelita, I know you're here. Give us a thumbs up. All right. Yeah, that was my bad.
Sorry about that. I had my YouTube on. I just got a notification on the phone. There we go.
Carmelita, I know you're here. Give us a thumbs up. All right. Yeah, that was my bad.
Sorry about that. I had my YouTube on. I just got a notification on the phone. There we go.
Carmelita, I know you're here. Give us a thumbs up. All right. Yeah, that was my bad.
I just got a notification on the phone. There we go.
Carmelita, I know you're here. Give us a thumbs up. All right. Yeah, that was my bad.
I just got a notification on the phone. There we go.
Carmelita, I know you're here. Give us a thumbs up. All right. Yeah, that was my bad.
I just got a notification on the phone. There we go.
Carmelita, I know you're here. Give us a thumbs up. All right. Yeah, that was my bad.
I just got a notification on the phone. There we go.
Carmelita, I know you're here. Give us a thumbs up. All right. Yeah, that was my bad.
I just got a notification on the phone. There we go.
Carmelita, I know you're here. Give us a thumbs up. All right. Yeah, that was my bad.
I just got a notification on the phone. There we go.
Carmelita, I know you're here. Give us a thumbs up. All right. Yeah, that was my bad.
I just got a notification on the phone. There we go.
Carmelita, I know you're here. Give us a thumbs up. All right. Yeah, that was my bad.
I just got a notification on the phone. There we go.
Carmelita, I know you're here. Give us a thumbs up. All right. Yeah, that was my bad.
I just got a notification on the phone. There we go.
Carmelita, I know you're here. Give us a thumbs up. All right. Yeah, that was my bad.
I just got a notification on the phone. There we go.
Carmelita, I know you're here. Give us a thumbs up. All right. Yeah, that was my bad.
I just got a notification on the phone. There we go.
Oh. Give it a minute.
Oh yeah. There's something wrong.
Give it just a minute.
Yeah, there's something wrong, big time.
Put your headphones back in. Give it just a
Yeah.
minute. How does it sound now?
Yeah, no, that sounds much better.
Yeah, it's my fault. Sorry. Sorry, everybody. Sorry to make your ears bleed. That was my fault. I apologize.
Okay, so all right, we're back on there.
Well, thanks for leaving the other group to come to us, Kay. We really appreciate that. We're much cooler, frankly. I don't know who the other group was, but I feel comfortable saying we're much cooler.
So I believe that nobody heard anything we were just talking about. Hey, Danny, what's up, Bobby? How are you? So I'm just for the sake of being repetitive, I'm just going to bring the topic up one more time, since I guess it was just Mike and I discussing it. Earlier this afternoon, I had a good friend of the show. Her name is Annalise, and she works for Skywalker Sound out at Lucasfilm in California. And although she wasn't allowed to tell me anything that she's working on because she's bound by confidentiality agreements, we did get on a discussion about, sort of the future of cinema, where things are heading, and she brought up a really interesting point, because I asked her, where is, how long before, movies studios just say, fuck it, and release movies video on demand. And she said, well, a lot of the studios are not going to do that, because you have to have a theatrical release to be in contention for any of the big prestigious awards. And Mike, I know you want to add to that.
Yeah, I was going to say that's really quick. Before I do that, I do want to also welcome I don't believe he's joined us before. Adam Risky is here.
Oh, that is, and, I just missed that. Adam, what's up, buddy?
Adam, I appreciate the Universal Soldier Day of Reckoning reference, even though it was my screw up that led to that. But maybe I'm just the equivalent of an audio John Hyams. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. I am an audio John Hyams. What I was going to say is... just as an example, I used Mandy from a couple years ago, because especially the soundtrack for Mandy garnered a lot of attention, and a lot of people thought it should have been nominated for an Oscar. But the problem is it had gone to VOD first, and then they released it theatrically, and that disqualified it from Oscar contention. So something like Mulan, Disney's not going to just dump that on Disney Plus, because they're going to want at least special effects and music Oscar noms for it. So it's easier and better for them to hold on to it for 6 months or a year than just dump it on Disney Plus.
Adam, what's going on, my friend? Welcome. I'm so glad you made it on the show. For those who don't know, Adam Risky is one of the amazing contributors to the F This Movie podcast and website. So I have had Adam on the show quite a few times, and it's always a delight to talk to him, and I'm glad he's joining us for the first time in one of our live streams. So Adam was just recently on the show on the series I've been doing called The Lockdown Session, so I invite everybody to check that out now. Roy just pointed out that we sound better now. I appreciate that, Roy. I was plugging your show when the audio sounded like garbage. I was telling everybody that you are one of the hosts of the Moving the Needle podcast, and please, by all means, feel free to drop a link to to your show in the chat box. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I can explain to you guys what happens when we get that echo. I finally figured it out this time. So I have my laptop up to see if the stream is actually going. But when I run it through XSplit, it also pops up a window and says, check to see, you can open a browser to check to see if the stream is going. And it just says, make sure to mute it so you don't get audio feedback. The problem is, sometimes there's a little bit of a YouTube delay and you can't mute a video until it starts playing. Well, I then got distracted by my laptop and forgot that I had the browser up. So anytime you hear that again in the future, just scream at me to close my browser and it'll fix the problem, because I'm an idiot and I can't do more than one thing at a time. So that is why that problem occurs. Now you all know how to tell me how to fix it. Kay just said, I'm the brains behind this operation. Thank you. I appreciate that as well. Dana may have the name and he's the brand name, but I'm the quality.
Angie just says, hey guys. Hey babe.
Hi, Angie. How are you?
Just going to jump right in and ask everybody what they've been watching since the last time we were streaming. My girlfriend and I, we watched Top Secret the other day. So amazing movie. Mike, I know that's a personal favorite of yours.
It is absolutely a personal favorite of mine. It is my favorite of all the Zucker and Abrams films. I think it's the one that I know. Look, I'm not disparaging Airplane by saying that Top Secret's my favorite, but I actually think Top Secret has, for me being kind of a musical theater nerd, the musical component of Top Secret is what really kicks it over the top for me. Plus if anybody listened to the last 20th Century Movie Club, you know I'm a big Great Escape fan, and the Great Escape homages really, really made me happy in that movie.
Angie says the janitor closet is classic. Yeah, that's one of the great things about the Zucker and Abrams films. And I mentioned this again when the sound was all messed up, that Roy's podcast, Moving the Needle, I'm going to be a guest on it next week, and we're going to be discussing Airplane. One of the great things about those movies is I've seen them multiple times. You always pick up something new every time you watch one of those films. There's just they're so fully loaded with like gags and jokes. It just it's such a delight to watch it.
Well, and one of the things that I really, in another universe, comedic genius Val Kilmer would have been one of my favorite actors. I mean, the back-to-back punch of Top Secret and Real Genius, he is so good as a comedian in those movies. And then, you know, he kind of went to become like a straight man and a serious dramatic actor. And he was good at that, but God, he's so funny. His timing is just impeccable in both of those movies.
I want to bring up something Danny just said. She said that she watched Mad Max Fury Road for the first time the other day. Now, I saw that in the theater. I contend that is one of the great action films made in the past 20 years. And it's interesting that she mentions that because I watched it 2 or 3 days ago when I was having coffee in the morning. I think that movie is outstanding, and I know that George Miller has at least begun the pre-production on a follow-up to that film. Mike, your thoughts on Mad Max Fury Road?
Oh, I mean, there's nothing to say. It's incredible. I saw it. It was funny. I did that podcast with Colin and told him that I would usually see like 2 or 3 movies in a day when I was in law school, and sometimes I even saw the same movie. I saw Fury Road. That's the only movie really since I've become, for lack of a better term, an adult, that I saw twice in one day and 4 times in a week. I was so blown away by that movie that it was such a sensory experience above and beyond anything else. I mean, that movie's incredible.
Let's see. Barry says, I watched the Child's Play remake. Top Secret is so good. I'm going to go back a little second. I actually watched the Child's Play remake and didn't think it was terrible. I don't know if I'm the only one there. I think Adam and I talked about that, or at least Adam Risky and I talked about it. You know what? Make that movie not Child's Play and just make it about, I don't want to spoil the hook of the film, but it's actually quite different than the original Child's Play. Mike, I know we've talked about it before. Have you even seen it yet?
I haven't seen the new one yet. I'm not opposed to it, but I haven't. We're hitting the time of year where I actually start saving up my horror movies for Scary Movie Month. And so odds are high I probably won't get around to it until October, but I have every intention of watching it this October. I usually, for those who don't know, again, plugging other podcasts besides our own, F This Movie does a big push for Scary Movie Month in October. And so coming March, April, I usually start kind of saving up my horror movies because I always have to watch at least 31, but I try and watch closer to like 50 or 60 every October.
Zachary says that he watched What Dreams May Come. I don't want to give away my thoughts yet. LOL. I feel I will be judged. I saw that movie one time when it came out. I can't really remember much about it, except to say that I've never really had a desire to revisit the film. I don't know if that's necessarily a knock on the film. I just have never really wanted to see it again. Mike?
Yeah, I saw it once. Actually, I saw it twice. I saw it once in the theater, once when it came out on video. It's fine. It's good. Robin Williams gives a good performance. The special effects and the visuals are impressive. I don't think it's a mind blowingly revelatory movie by any means, but I think everybody should see it once if they haven't seen it. I want to just address really quick. Adam brought up that he watched Score, which is a documentary about film scores that I think is quite good. Adam thought it was okay. I just want to say, Adam, I highly recommend getting the book because the book has unedited versions of all the interviews. And so if you at least were interested in the documentary, I think the book will serve you better as far as what you're looking for.
And Adam also, to a follow-up to the Child's Play remake, he said that movie should have been a character study called Cool Mom, starring Aubrey Plaza with no killer doll. It's good.
So Jean-Francois watched Blast Fighter. I just heard about that on Just the Discs a couple of weeks ago, and it's on my watch list. It's on the short part of my watch list, but I haven't gotten around to watching it yet. Dana, have you ever seen Blast Fighter?
I have not. No.
It's an Italian action movie where apparently a guy has to blow up a southern town with a giant gun. So it's right up my alley, basically.
Sounds interesting. Let's see. Danny said, also, please don't judge her. Watch the 50 Shades trilogy. Had to see what the hype was about. And no, I haven't read the books, which is typically my own cardinal rule. Well, I'll defer to anyone else in the conversation, including you, Mike. I have not read the books, nor have I seen the movie. So I am not in a position to make a comment one way or the other.
I read the first book. It took me longer to read than any other book I've ever read in my life because I could only read about 5 pages at a time before I wanted to burn my eyes out. I actually thought the movie greatly improved on the book because Jamie Dornan and Dakota Fanning are much better, or not Dakota Fanning, Dakota Johnson, I apologize, are much better actors than the writer is a writer. And so they were able to kind of bring something to it that wasn't necessarily on the page.
Adam says that he doesn't read books, but thanks for the recommendation.
Well, I think it's on Audible. You can listen to it, Adam.
Let's see. Roy says Coffee and Mad Max. Oh, okay. Coffee and Mad Max. Yeah, no, listen, Roy, you would not believe my morning coffee rituals, what they entail. I watch so much. It's the YouTube rabbit hole. It's going down the Netflix rabbit hole. Every morning it's something different. Let's see here. Zachary says, also watch Bottle Shock. Not good, borderline bad, but it did make me want wine. Now, I remember Bottle Shock tells the true story of the Chateau Montelena vineyard in California. And I'm just doing this from memory. I have seen the movie one time, but I worked at a pretty high-end restaurant. And when that movie came out, I'm sorry, I'm going all over the place. It was the story of the Chateau Montelena winery, which was the first American wine. Their Chardonnay was the first one to win like the World Championship of Wine in a blind wine taste testing. Long story short, we carried that wine on our wine list at the time. And about a month and a half after that movie came out, everybody wanted that wine. And, we were able to successfully double the price on our wine list and nobody batted an eye on it. So a little inside restaurant. So, I actually thought that movie was pretty, you know what? He said it's not good, borderline bad. It's got Alan Rickman in it. And I think Alan Rickman does a great job, but I'll agree with you. The other stars in the movie are Bill Pullman, who I think is always good. Chris Pine, really miscast in that film, so much so that it kind of takes me out of the movie. But I think Alan Rickman is good, but he's limited in the movie. He's not in it all the time. He's definitely a supporting role. Angie says, I'm saying she's referring to the 50 Shades of Grey, that it's not well written. The movies are so much better than the books in this case.
I do want
Wow.
to, yeah, that is true. I do want to mention two comments that K. Rodriguez made. Watched Rounders on Netflix. That is 20th Century approved. If I'm not mistaken, it was actually an Adam Risky recommendation when he was a guest on the 20th Century Movie Club. And then bought Speed on Blu-ray, which is also 20th Century Movie Club approved. So, you're making some good choices there, Kay. I think we can both approve of those choices.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, see, we're getting a lot of Alan Rickman love right here. Kay Rodriguez said Alan Rickman could be in Jaws 3D and he would make it a masterpiece. Can I tell you something? Over the past few weeks, we've all had our comfort movies. I have probably watched Jaws 2 and Jaws 3 times a piece over the past few weeks. I can't explain why. Obviously, I love Jaws. I'm working on an episode of the podcast called The Case for Jaws 2, where I'm going to lay out all the reasons why I think that movie is so much better than people give it credit for, which I believe I did make a small case for that on the 20th Century Club, Mike, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that was one of the first movies you recommended, actually.
And I'm telling you, I know, I'm just laughing because something Adam wrote. I'm going to come back to that in just a moment. But I'm telling you, I think it's a great movie. Now, Jaws 3 is, to me, the absolute definition of the so bad it's good movie, and I just think it's one of the most watchable films I've ever seen in my life. Adam says, speaking of Alan Rickman, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves is good, right, Dana? That's, for those who don't know, that's kind of an inside thing between Adam and I. We kind of go back and forth on that one. He's a big fan of that movie. So, next comment?
Honest question. Adam Risky. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, or Draft Day?
Oh, no, I can answer that. I can answer that for him. That's 100% Draft Day.
Well, then that's the right choice. Carmelita also mentioned... Sorry, go ahead, Adam. Or no, sorry. I'm getting confused here. Yeah, he just said Draft Day. So Carmelita said she went all in on the Heston biblical epics and watched 10 Commandments and Ben-Hur. She and I actually got a little crossways on Twitter because we did not understand. She had mentioned Ben-Hur, and I brought up that we had just recorded the soon-to-be-released Terminator Salvation podcast, where I mentioned Ben-Hur as a way to do something correctly that they didn't do in Terminator Salvation. And she thought I was saying that Terminator Salvation and Ben-Hur are equally good. Which, come on, Carmelita. Come on. Really? Come on.
Kay Rodriguez says, Jaws, Bruce could bite you in the ass, Dana, and you turn around and ask him for an autograph. Yeah, that's about right. You should have seen the first time I went on the Jaws ride at Universal. I got off and got back in that 2-hour line once again. It was one of the greatest experiences of my life.
So I've actually watched, as I've mentioned before, I've mostly been watching garbage, but I actually watched a couple of movies that I think are worth talking about since we were last here this week. One I'll throw out to everybody, but specifically to you, Dana. Have you seen In a Valley of Violence?
As a matter of fact, I have.
I thought you might, because it's got your boy in it.
Yes, that is actually, I think, a very good John Travolta film. I'm sorry, that's an Ethan Hawke film.
Right. Well, it's got your boy and my boy, so I figured we had to both have seen it. I had actually not gotten around to seeing it. I thought it was pretty terrific, and I thought Travolta was really good in it. He was very clearly very invested in the role and having a good time. And I think Ethan Hawke's incapable of giving a bad performance. So I really enjoyed the hell out of that one.
Barry says that he is the same with Aliens. Aliens is my go-to comfort movie. I watched that Saturday night. Was it Saturday? When did we record, Mike? We recorded on Sunday, right?
Sunday, yeah.
Yeah, so I watched that Saturday night, and man, it's I don't even know what to say. It's a perfect movie. I know, Mike. I echo what you've said before. Aliens is truly a perfect movie, and one that I'll I might catch some flack for saying it live on the air, but I think the best James Cameron film ever made is Aliens.
Let me just really quick. Carmelita's got to go. Thank you for joining us, Carmelita. Enjoy your dinner. It's always a pleasure. Yeah, no, I mean, my thoughts. I think Terminator's his best. I think Aliens is his second best. I love them both. I think they're both perfect movies.
Let's see. Jean-Francois says, yet another Batman movie on the way. What are your thoughts on the new Matt Reeves film and the casting of Robert Pattinson? If there's one thing that I have learned when it comes to the casting situation surrounding any Batman movie, is that you really truly have to reserve judgment until the film comes out. So having said that, I think Robert Pattinson is very good in a lot of movies. I think he's an excellent actor in a lot of movies. I don't know what the tone of this movie is going to be, but I will say this. I am cautiously optimistic because people were outraged at the idea of Michael Keaton being cast as Batman. People were beyond outraged at the idea of Heath Ledger being cast as the Joker. People lost their shit with Ben Affleck being cast as Batman. And I think all three of them gave a really good performance. Heath Ledger gave an Academy Award-winning performance. So my answer to that is completely, I'm optimistic, and I can't make any comments one way or the other, but I'm optimistic. Mike?
Robert Pattinson is destined for an Oscar. And so I don't have any problem with casting great actors to play Batman. If you're still trapped, it's the same thing with Kristen Stewart. If you're still trapped in the Twilight mindset of them, you need to see some of their more recent movies. You need to see Personal Shopper. You need to see Good Time. You need to see The Lighthouse, because both of them are absolutely terrific actors. And I have no problem with Robert Pattinson being cast. And Matt Reeves is a good director. So I have look, the reality is there haven't been that many bad Batman movies. And even the worst ones, I think, have some pretty good, you can find some good things in all of them. And usually Batman is not the reason that they're not good movies. So I think it's going to be just fine. Now, that doesn't mean that the movie's going to be good necessarily, but I don't think that we're going to have a problem with Robert Pattinson's performance.
Yeah. I was going to go back to something that Adam said a little earlier. He said, have you seen that Bruce Willis is isolating with Demi Moore and their kids? He looks happier than I've ever seen in decades. Will it translate to his post-COVID-19 direct-to-video movies?
I doubt it, because Bruce has figured out that he can put literally no effort in and get paid like... There's a great line in JCVD at the start. For those who haven't seen that movie, it's kind of a meta Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, but it opens with this really big action scene, and then at the end they cut, and Van Damme's all sorts of mad because the budget's only like $2 million and they're paying him 1.5. And he's like, how could they possibly make a good movie out of this? Bruce doesn't care. Bruce has figured out that if they're going to pay him $1.5 million for showing up for 2 days, and the rest of the movie gets $500,000, he's fine with that. So I don't expect we're going to see a big change. No,
I'm going to agree with that. Let's see. Bobby said Minority Report is really good. Yeah,
somebody had asked, was it Zach who had asked that his wife wanted to see Minority Report and he'd never seen it and wanted to know what we thought. I think Minority Report's good. It's not my favorite Spielberg, but I think it's good.
Yeah, it's definitely not my favorite Spielberg, but I really very rarely have a Spielberg that I don't like. It's the man's made, 20-something movies. I definitely saw it in the theater. I think it's a really well done. The cinematography on that, the lenses and everything. What do you think, Mike? There's something just a little off for me about the color palettes of that film.
Yeah, the color palettes are a little off, and the biggest problem that I had with it, and Zach, you might want to mute me for a sec because this is kind of a spoiler, but not really unless you've seen the other movie, is So if you've read the original Minority Report story, like all Philip K. Dick adaptations, it's completely different. And this new one, more or less, was kind of LA Confidential in the future. And if you've seen both of the movies, I think you'll know what I'm talking about. And it's not as good as LA Confidential. So it's not my favorite. I do want to shout out one of my favorite film critics, Chris Evangelista of Slash Film, just started a new podcast where he's discussing 21st. It's called 21st Century Spielberg. And if you don't follow Chris, I don't know him. I don't have any vested interest in this. He's just, I think, a fantastic critic. And I think that podcast is going to be real good.
Let's see here. Adam says Underwater is an awesome Kristen Stewart movie. I haven't seen it yet, but that's kind of what I hear.
I hear it's very good. I didn't go see it because I've got a problem with the T.J. Miller component, but I'm still going to see it. I'll get over it.
Roy says lots of love for Adam West here. Kay Rodriguez says Adam Risky. All you have to say is Kristen Stewart and I melt. Let's see. Salzo Cloud, Maria. Let's see. The Runaways, even Panic Room.
Yeah, Kristen Stewart's terrific. Like, she's fantastic. So one of the movies that really made me, because I was a Kristen Stewart hater, I really thought she was awful in Adventureland. I have come around on that performance, but I still think she was a little... I think her and Jesse Eisenberg aren't necessarily the best together because those are two actors that in certain roles I like, but I can also really, really hate. But other than that, I think Kristen Stewart's terrific. I think she's absolutely fantastic.
Kay Rodriguez also says Spielberg is allowed a 1941 every now and then.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's perfect, right?
No. And I think 1941's got some interesting scenes that are worth checking out. I mean, that was a 100% practical effect with the Ferris wheel. I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen the movie. I know a lot of you haven't. Or I shouldn't say a lot of you. I know a lot of people haven't. What do you think of 1941?
I admire it more than I respect it because I admire what he was trying to do. I always enjoy blank check movies, right? I think blank check movies have a lot of value. And frankly, had 1941 not been such a disaster, we never would have got Raiders of the Lost Ark, because Raiders of the Lost Ark was Lucas coming in and yanking Spielberg's chain and forcing him to storyboard every single scene in that movie and getting what is one of the tightest, most efficient, best action adventure movies ever made, if not the best action adventure movie ever made.
And I can second something to that effect. My friend Phil Joanna, who's been on the show several times, writer, director of 3 O'Clock High, State of Grace, U2 Rattle and Hum, Gridiron Gang. He was actually discovered by Steven Spielberg. That's how he broke into the business. Spielberg, Bob Zemeckis, and Kathy Kennedy had all watched his USC film school thesis film, if you will. And so he was invited into Spielberg's office, and the first thing that he directed was a couple episodes of Amazing Stories. Does everybody remember the classic Amazing Stories from the 1980s?
Absolutely.
So Spielberg directed a couple of those episodes and had invited Phil to join him on the set just so he could kind of get, this was his first exposure to, working with, well, at this time, I mean, this was 84. I mean, Spielberg was biggest director in the world by this point. And he said that he learned so much watching Spielberg because he said Spielberg was so, as you said it, Mike, tight and precise with everything he was doing. And if he got it on the first take, he would just say, all right, that's it. That's all I need. He knew by that point, he knew exactly what he wanted. And if he saw it on the first take, he wouldn't even bother with a second take. So, and I think a lot of that has to do with what you said about sort of Lucas wrangling him in a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that was back when Lucas was, kind of at the top of his game. And it was pretty, I mean, what can you say about Raiders? I do also want to shout out for comic nerds, because it doesn't fit in 20th Century Movie Club. If you haven't seen Phil's short that he did with Thomas Jane, The Punisher Dirty Laundry, you're really missing out because that is really, really the best Punisher movie that has ever been made.
And readily available on YouTube.
Yep.
Very easy to find.
Yeah, it's a fan film, so it's free. But oh man, you'll never get a better Punisher. Nothing will ever be better than that as far as the Punisher goes.
And you know what's interesting about that is, according to Phil, Thomas Jane reached out to Phil and said, "Listen, I really love this character. You know, they've went ahead and they've recast the role for Punisher Warzone." He goes, I still want to do something with this character, and that's when they came up with this idea of just doing this short film, and it's outstanding. And Thomas Jane would go on to work with Phil in the 2015 psychological horror thriller called The Veil with Jessica Alba.
Yeah, no, Dirty Laundry is just. I saw it before. Like, I knew who Phil was because I remembered him from State of Grace, but when that dropped, it was so good. And it was everything that unfortunately Jane never got to do in the actual Jonathan Hensley Punisher movie. So again, folks, when you're done hanging out with us, just search Punisher Dirty Laundry on YouTube and watch it. It's 10-12 minutes, and it is one of the best 10 or 12 minutes you're absolutely going to spend. It is just amazing.
And I was when I had John Travolta on the show, we talked just briefly about the Punisher because I just was asking him about random movies he was in. And I said, so, the Punisher, because at this point, the Punisher was 2003, 2004?
Somewhere around
John,
there. Yeah.
John was still, top bill, still getting, first look at any script that he wanted. And that script was presented to him. And he agreed to take a substantial pay cut to play Howard Saint in that movie, which wasn't even the lead role. That's how much he enjoyed that script and loved what the sort of director's vision for that film was. And I'll go on record saying, I love that movie. I saw that movie twice in the theater over opening weekend.
Yeah, I think that one is, if you're not quite as familiar with The Punisher, I could see that movie working a lot better. For me, I was very familiar with the Garth Ennis arcs that they adapted, and I didn't love it. I will say, though, I never questioned for a second Thomas Jane in the role. We're getting a lot of Thomas Jane love in the chat here, which warms my heart because I think Thomas Jane is one of our great underappreciated actors. He's so quirky and weird and brilliant when he wants to be. And, one that I always loved, I remember the first movie I ever remember him in was Deep Blue Sea, and watching it and just being like, oh my God, this guy is a badass. Like, this guy is one of the coolest badasses I've seen in a movie in a long time.
Let's see here. Zachary says, did either of you watch Little Women 2019? I suggested it to a friend and they couldn't get over the plot jumping between periods of time. It took me a second, but I think it lent itself to the film. I'll defer to you, Mike. I have not seen it.
I actually haven't seen it yet either. I feel terrible saying this, I'm not the biggest Little Women fan. And so I haven't seen it yet. I will see it. I'm not going to not see it. But I haven't seen it yet.
Barry says Thomas Jane is fantastic in most of his roles. Have you guys ever seen the movie Thursday? I have not.
I have not either, unfortunately.
Jean-Francois says Denis Villeneuve is remaking Dune. What are your thoughts on the original David Lynch film and the coming remake? I had Alejandro Gonzalez on the show not too long ago, and she made some recommendations, and that was one of her recommendations. I had mentioned to her that I had not seen it in a very, very long time. I regret to inform you I have yet to watch it again, so I really don't have a comment on it. All I know about this remake that's coming up, as far as how am I feeling about it, I know it's going to be a visual masterpiece. That's the only thing I know for sure. Mike?
Yeah, Denis Villeneuve is good. He's good. I mean, like, you may not always like his movies, but he's good. I'm one of those people that thinks Blade Runner 2049 is better than Blade Runner. But the movie's going to be good. Yeah, I don't know what all this hubbub over like a couple of shots. This reminds me of whenever we get set like bootleg set shots of comic book movies where they're in their costume and everybody like blows a gasket because the costume looks bad. And it's like, well, yeah, because you're taking like iPhone shots that aren't color corrected and post produced and they're out of context and everything like that. Like, it just blows my mind. So Adam Risky asked a question that I really want to address, which is asking us if we like Rennie Harlan movies.
Well, I'll take that one first. Absolutely. I mean, for me, I mean, we're talking about 1988. He did Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, The Dream Master. Then it was 90. He did Fort Fairlane, and 91, 92 Cliffhanger. Then we're rolls into the Long Kiss Goodnight. I mean, Cutthroat Island.
Die Hard 2. You forgot Die Hard 2?
I said Die Hard. Yeah, Die Hard 2. I mean, yeah, no, I think the guy's fantastic. I think he makes great movies. The one real, I hate to use the term blemish for me on his career is the IndyCar racing one. Is that one Driven?
Driven.
I had, as someone who's really big into IndyCar racing, I took real exception to that film. I did not find it to be accurate in the least. So,
because when I watch a Rennie Harlan movie, accuracy is what I'm aiming for.
Well, this whole thing about, you got the two rival guys, and they're sort of, the one guy said, if you don't win, you're off the team. The dude keeps coming in second place. Do you know how many teams would die to have someone that came in second place every time? Like, just with the points that you would get from that? I mean, it gave me stress. And he went a little CGI heavy on that one.
Just in case anybody is questioning, I've finished the good whiskey. I'm now moving to the cheap whiskey. So, also, I want to address that Dana has very good lighting. I do not. So I'm fully aware that I look like I'm dying of some sort of terrible. You know what? I'm not even going to say it because I was going to say I was dying of a terrible plague, but that's not appropriate right now. But I realize that the forehead is shiny. I get it. I need to get some better lights in here. Anyway, Adam, I'm a little offended that you even asked that question, man. It's like you don't even know me. Of course I like Rennie Harlan movies, except for dude's later career has not been great. Skip Trace was borderline unwatchable. For those who don't know, you might think that a team up between Johnny Knoxville and Jackie Chan would be good. It's not. It's not at all.
I don't get it. On paper, it sounds so dynamic.
Yeah, and they're not doing what you would expect, which is both of them trying to one-up each other by trying to, like, physically injure the other person. But the movie, like, holds back. But Rennie Harlan at his best, and I will actually defend Driven. Driven, I own on Blu-ray. It's a terrible movie, but it's terribly awesome. And yes, Adam, you should absolutely watch Mindhunters because there is a shootout underwater in Mindhunters that is the most ridiculous shootout that has ever been filmed. So you should absolutely watch Mindhunters.
I'm just going back. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Please. Oh, I was just saying, I'm just going back in the comments real quick where Barry said Thursday is definitely 20th Century Movie Club material. I just want to, the reason I'm bringing this up is Barry was the one that recommended Threads to me, which is one that I recommended on the 20th Century Movie Club. And so I'm going to take his recommendation and I'm going to track down Thursday and watch that. Mike, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, you're good. No worries. One other thing I do want to kind of address. Roy had brought up way back when we were talking about Batman. He said Batman and Robin, Mike. I've already kind of made my opinions on Batman and Robin, I think, pretty clear. I think it's actually a reasonable facsimile of the Adam West Batman, but I don't want to get 57 comments. So Roy, feel free, because I know we follow each other on Twitter, feel free to DM me and I'll articulate why I think Batman and Robin is better than people give it credit for.
Okay. Adam says underwater shootout. Let's see. K. Rodriguez says The Covenant. That was a classic. I don't know if there's sarcasm or if that's meant to be taken serious.
The Covenant needed to be crazier. that was my biggest problem with it. And it also had some, like, Stephen Strait has turned out to be a decent actor, but he was pretty dull in that. I do want to just say I just looked up Thursday. It's directed by Skip Woods, who is a fairly well-known screenwriter. And it's got Thomas Jane and Aaron Eckhart and James LeGros in it. So yeah, I'm gonna seek that out and check that out. I think that's a movie we should watch.
I am so interested in watching this movie that I don't even want to know what it's about. I have no idea. I have no concept. I mean, when you have something called Thursday, you really have no concept. Kind of like I have no concept of what a Thursday is anyway right now. I have completely lost my mind. I swear to you all, I looked at my phone this morning to verify that it was Wednesday. That's how things have gone for me as of lately. I literally have no idea where I am half the time. Of course, I'm kidding around. Thank God we've got the live streams and I've got the podcast to do. Otherwise, I don't even know. True story. This morning when I was having my coffee, I was standing outside of my house. I have a townhouse, and so I've got neighbors and everything. But I've got the sidewalk and then the parking lot. And for some reason, I was just aimlessly walking around the parking lot at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, just with my coffee in my hand, just kind of mumbling to myself. And my girlfriend just happened to be driving by, and she was like, "Oh, look at that. There's someone just aimlessly walking in the parking lot." And then she realized it was me. And so she actually turned around and came back. She's like, "You okay?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm just walking around." So, and I told her, "Oh, go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry."
No, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
So somebody just pointed out, Barry pointed out Batman Credit Card as a Batman and Robin criticism. Yeah, it's got the Batman Credit Card, which is dumb. Very Adam West dumb. Do we forget that Batman and Robin, or not Batman and Robin, Batman Returns has a fucking Batman CD player that somehow Batman can scratch like he's Skrillex, which is not how CD players work at all. And I love Batman Returns. Batman Returns is probably actually Ed Wood's my favorite Tim Burton movie, but Batman Returns is my second favorite Tim Burton movie, but Batman CD player that he scratches, like no crazier than anything that happens in Batman and Robin.
Let's see here. Kay Rodriguez says that, Dana, your mic is the size of his face, so can't see much. Yeah, no, I know. I'm working on that. I was talking to Annalise about getting a headset microphone.
You don't even need a headset microphone, dude. Just move it to the left.
I know.
Mine's the same size. Mine's the same size as yours. I could do this.
Okay,
but I leave it over here.
Yeah, well, I'll look at that for next time. I've got everything dialed in exactly where I want it in there. I've got my studio lights set up. I've got my microphone here. I'm just going to go with it for right now. I'll make the change next time.
Angie just gave you credit for getting some fresh air, so that's good. At least you're getting some fresh air. Zach just asked, "Is it blasphemy to talk about TV shows?" God, no. I've actually been watching more TV than I have Jeff. So thanks for joining, Jeff. I'm sure you've been here the whole time, but he said radio guy versus non-radio guy. Jeff's a radio guy. So I'm guessing the person whose mic is in front of their face is radio. So there you go. But Zach said, can we talk about TV? I never hear anything about Boardwalk Empire. The problem with Boardwalk Empire is I think it kind of just fell in a gap. It was popular, but it wasn't, I think it was good. I'm never going to hate anything with Steve Buscemi and Jack Houston. And Jack Houston was incredible in it. But, it's just not, it's not The Wire or The Sopranos. I think that's why you never hear anything about it.
I thought, you know what? I only watched the first season and a couple episodes of the second season and really enjoyed it. I mean, I was enjoying it while I was watching it, and I thought the production design on that that show was amazing. I thought that, everything about it was very authentic, to use that term again. But it never grabbed me to the point where I was like, I've got to finish watching this like certain shows have. I totally and completely respect the show. And I will eventually get around to watching it. So it's on the list. That's where I'll leave it at.
Yeah. No, I think it was good. It was very good. Kay Rodriguez just said, found out about Quibi. So I actually just tweeted out a snarky tweet about Quibi because some clout chaser decided he was going to bag on one of the Quibi shows. And it turns out that it's the new TV show, I guess TV as much as Quibi can be, from Sam fucking Raimi. And so I'm like, can we maybe not just like clown on the new Sam Raimi show, since we only get stuff from Sam Raimi like once a decade, and it's based on an old folk tale that Mark Twain actually wrote a story about. So like maybe we should watch it before we clown on it. I haven't watched anything. I haven't watched it. I don't have it. I don't like the concept, but I also don't like the snark that everybody is applying to it.
Well, I know that John just wrapped up a production with Kevin Hart. That's going to be a Quibi show, which I'm looking forward to watching. I was texting him about that about a month ago. So he was in Atlanta filming that. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm not crazy about the idea of like 12-minute shows or 11-minute shows or however long it's going to be, but who knows? I'll wait and see. Let's see here. Adam says, if Batman with Robert Pattinson had a soundtrack full of pop singles, which artist band has the lead single circa 2021? Okay, so this is where I'm going to show my, I guess I would kind of show my age, but at the same time, I was a DJ for 20-something years. If you offered me $10,000 cash right now, and all I had to do was name 3 songs that are in the top 40 right now, I would tell you to keep your money, because I don't think I'd be able to do it. I'm so sorry to say that I'm so out of touch with current pop music.
I will say, Adam, it kind of depends. If it's up to Matt Reeves, it's going to be 21 Pilots. If it's up to the studio, it's going to be Dua Lipa. But those are going to be the two that will have the lead single. One of those two will have the lead single, or they might both, because Batman soundtracks traditionally had your like alternative lead single and your like R&B top 40 lead single. And so you might have both as the lead single.
Lest us forget, 1989, that Batman movie had it had an original score that you could get by Danny Elfman, and then it had the Prince soundtrack. And then I don't know, I was in high school in 95, and I had the Batman Forever soundtrack, and I wore that cassette tape out. I listened to that thing nonstop.
Yeah, I mean, the Batman Forever soundtrack might still be the highest selling soundtrack of all time. And it was, you had your U2 and your Seal leading off. Those were your 2 lead singles. And so people forget people don't remember how fucking big Batman Forever was in 1995. Like, that thing was crazy huge. We don't have movies that big anymore. Like, I still have Batman Forever McDonald's glasses. Like, we just don't have that anymore.
And you know what? Like, remember, it was the perfect storm of, the fact that they had put Jim Carrey in the movie. And people have to remember, 95 was the height of Jim Carrey. I mean, Cable Guy doesn't come out for another year. He had done The Mask, Dumb and Dumber, a couple Ace Ventura films. I mean, and then, so you've got that. You got Val Kilmer and Tommy Lee Jones. I mean, and then you couple in that soundtrack, which, Kay Rodriguez points out that Kiss from a Rose by Seal won 3 Grammys. I mean, I saw that movie in Times Square in 1995. I was in New York. And but I do want to say I don't have the facts in front of me, but I want to say that the best-selling soundtrack of all time, I believe, is 1997's Titanic. I could be wrong, but I think that's what it is.
So the three that I think it's going to be one of the three, and I'm sure somebody listening is already Googling it to prove us wrong. I think it's either going to be The Bodyguard, Titanic, or Batman Forever. It's going to be, I think, one of those three.
I'm going to throw one more in there. Saturday Night Fever. I think that sold really well.
It did sell really well, but I don't think it sold just simply because there were more people when those three came out. Like, the thing with The Bodyguard, Titanic, and Batman Forever is they were when we had the biggest population that wasn't downloading stuff online. Kay Rodriguez says The Bodyguard.
Did she look that up, or is that a guess? That's what I want to know. Oh, let's look it up. Somebody.
I'll vamp while you look it up.
Okay. Just a second here.
All right. I do want to say Adam said, what did Adam say? Adam said something I wanted to address. Dua Lipa should play Wonder Woman's sister. I would be okay with that. She doesn't have a sister, but I would be okay with that.
I've got the numbers.
So yeah, it's The Bodyguard.
Okay, so the top 8 selling soundtracks of all time are number 1, The Bodyguard, number 2, Saturday Night Fever, number 3, Purple Rain, number 4, Forrest Gump, number 5, Dirty Dancing, number 6, Titanic, number 7, The Lion King, number 8, Footloose. So,
wow, there you go. Look at that.
Yeah, so Purple Rain, yeah, that was a huge soundtrack.
That's a bit of a cheat. That's a Prince album.
That's a Prince album.
That's not a soundtrack. That's a bit of a cheat.
Well, that's the same thing with Saturday Night Fever. That's essentially a Bee Gees album.
Yeah, those are a bit of a cheat.
And so was the Batman '89. That's a Prince album.
yeah, Batman '89 is Prince. So yeah, and Batman '89, at least gave us Bat Dance, which is glorious.
Roy says no Post Malone. Okay, so I know who that is, but I can't laugh because I don't know the reference. No. I gotta stop right there. Kay Rodriguez said such haters with Prince. Who is hating on Prince? I saw that man in concert in 1996, and it was one of the greatest concerts I've ever seen in my life. No one's hating on him. We're just commenting that he had, that they were tying them in as movie soundtracks when they were really just good Prince albums.
Yeah, like the Batman soundtrack's just a Prince album. We're not hating on him. Like, it's a cheat only because they're using it as a soundtrack, not as a Prince album. Like, you will get no Prince hate from this dude here. I actually, the other day, just went on a Prince bender because I don't even remember what I was doing. But, I was looking up Sheena Easton videos. And that led me to, you don't ask why I was looking up Sheena Easton videos. I had Strut stuck in my head. And that led to You've Got the Look, which of course then led to a Prince bender. So,
Nobody's judging here.
Yeah.
You're in a safe place here. No one's judging.
So, yeah, we're not hating on Prince. So Adam just brought up that, which Wolfgang Peterson movie popped up at? Oh, In the Line of Fire. And is Wolfgang Peterson the most 90s director? He shouldn't have been. He should have been a long-standing director, but unfortunately he ended up a 90s director.
Let's see. His claim to fame was what, Das Boot? Was that sort of his breakout? And then he obviously did In the Line of Fire. Did he direct The Neverending Story?
He did.
Okay.
And he also directed Air Force One.
He did do Air Force One. And did he do The Perfect Storm?
He did.
He's the most 90s director. Yep. Good call, Adam.
And the biggest problem is he also did Outbreak, as Kate Rodriguez brought up. The biggest problem is he did Poseidon. And that was literally like the last big movie he got to direct. Which is hilarious to me because, yeah, Poseidon underperformed, but every movie he'd done before that had overperformed. And Poseidon's not great, but it does have Josh Lucas and Kurt Russell. What the hell more do you want out of a movie?
And Richard Dreyfuss.
Yep.
It's got Matt Hooper in it. What else do you need?
Yeah. I like Wolfgang Peterson. We need him back. Kay Rodriguez pointed out he also backed out of Harry Potter, which did hurt us.
I'm sorry. Something Adam just wrote.
Yep. When it's called Poseidon, you cast Josh Lucas because the adventure is implied. Yep. That's the same reason you call it Stealth, because he stealth acts in that movie. Look, I love Josh Lucas. That man's dreamy blue eyes are sent to bless us mere mortals with a gift from God. But he has done some bad movies.
Josh Lucas. Okay. Let's see. Who is... Okay. Let me just go back here. Let's see. Roy said the Batman Forever soundtrack played on a loop in the theater that he worked at. In the theater's lobby, I still have issues about the songs. Kay Rodriguez says Josh Lucas is only eye candy when you're incredibly stoned and out of real candy. That's pretty good.
Yeah, but he is eye candy. I will defend Josh Lucas. I have defended Josh Lucas for years. So as you know, Dana, I periodically have some actors that I think are bland and dull, but I still like them for a reason, and I will continue to defend them. Josh Lucas is one of those actors. And you know what? I did that for years with Keanu Reeves, and I got proven right. So,
John Francois says, is there a theater rant story coming soon? I don't know. Oh, okay. All right. You know what? I'll tell a quick story about going to a movie theater. Okay. Everybody's, can you still hear me?
Yeah. Your video's frozen, but we're still hearing you.
Okay. All right. So let's see. Memorial Day of 2019, I went down to visit my mom in Sarasota. Went down for the long weekend. Took a couple days off from work. Wanted to just get away. It's a 2-hour drive from where I live. And to know where I live in Ocala, Florida is sort of just the center of, the center of Florida. It looks like any other part of America. Like there's this sporadic palm tree here and there. But when you go down to Sarasota, it is exactly what you think Florida is going to be. It's right on the ocean, has some of the most beautiful beaches you've ever seen. And while I was down there, I said to my mom, I really want to do something to celebrate, Memorial Day. And there's nothing more Americana than going to a baseball game. So I decided to go drive up to Tropicana Field where the Tampa Bay Rays play. And it's like a 45-minute drive from where my mom lives. So I go up there and I buy a ticket out in left field because the idea was I wanted to catch some balls. Let me say that again. I wanted to catch some baseballs during batting practice. And by the way, I went by myself, and there's nothing wrong with going to a baseball game by yourself. Would you agree, Mike?
Absolutely. Just like there's nothing wrong with going to a movie by yourself. Absolutely.
So I get in there and listen, the Tampa Bay Rays at the time are not a very good baseball team. They're not good at all. So it's very, very sparsely populated inside that particular stadium. I mention that because when I went out to left field and got my seats, and I was right there on the wall, I was there for about 2 minutes, and an usher came up to me and said, "Excuse me, sir, can I see your ticket?" And I had bought this ticket on my phone, and I signed in as a guest on the Tampa Bay Rays website, and I couldn't find it. And he's just like, "I need to see your ticket." And I'm fumbling through my phone and I can't find it. Meanwhile, they've started batting practice and they're hitting baseballs and they're going all over the place. And I'm stuck trying to show this guy my ticket, my $13 ticket for the Tampa Bay Rays game, because that's how cheap the tickets were. So I finally am able to produce the ticket for him, and he's like, "Okay, thank you. Just got to make sure." And I'm thinking, who's sneaking into these seats? It's not like I'm trying to go behind home base. And so finally, like batting practices started, and a couple balls go hit. They come. Baseballs come flying my way, and I'm like 20 feet from one, and I'm running over to grab it, and these two little kids just come out of nowhere, and I didn't get any baseballs. So, well, so I sit down, and at this point, there's a few people that have like showed up around me. They're sitting behind me. Now, I don't know if anyone's ever been to a sporting event where they use cowbells, but this is actually a thing at the Tampa Bay Rays stadium. And the three ladies that were sitting behind me were incessantly ringing the cowbells. Not when people were on deck, not when a ball was hit, just constantly. So if you can imagine the sound of a cowbell just ringing nonstop behind you. So finally, I'm only into the third inning. I turn around and I just politely say, "Excuse me, is there any way that you could possibly stop, the cowbell all the time? My ears are starting to hurt." And one lady said, "Oh, is this your first time at a baseball game?" I said, Yes, it is. And then she goes, "Well, welcome to Tampa," and just rings the cowbell right in my face. So anyway, that's my cue to get up and just, it's time to go. I can't take it anymore. So I don't know my way around this stadium. So I'm walking back, and I'm like in the outskirts. I'm still inside the building. And I start walking down this hallway, and I'm just trying to find my way out of here. And all of a sudden, these security guys just start screaming at me, Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing here?" And the guy's like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And I said, "I'm trying to find my way out." And he goes, "That's not the way." And I realized that I had gone down the players only entrance. And I had almost made it to the locker room, and they had just I guess they were upset because they had let somebody slip by. They're like, "No, guys, listen, I'm just trying to leave." They're like, "Come with us. We'll escort you out of the building." I said, "Okay." So I leave, and I drive back to Sarasota, and I come back, and I'm talking to my mom, and I'm just like, "Oh, you're not going to believe this. What a terrible experience I had at the baseball game." And she just says, "Well, what are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to go to a movie. Yeah, my mom lives within walking distance of a movie theater." So I pull up my phone, and the movie Booksmart was playing, just to give you an idea of what time period this was. So I purchase a ticket for the 6:00 showing to Booksmart, and I get there, and I'm wearing a t-shirt, shorts. In my pockets, this is important, in my pockets I have my cell phone, my keys. I have a little tube of sunblock because, just because,
you were going to a baseball game. So
yeah, I was going to a baseball game. And so I buy my popcorn, I buy my soda, and I'm getting ready to go to where they scan your tickets. And they had this very older lady who was scanning the tickets, and she was in a chair, and she must have been, I don't know, 75, 80 years old. And I just said to myself, well, and she was sitting in a chair, and I said, well, that's so sweet. I'm just a sucker for just being nice to people. And so I walk up to her, and I've got my phone out, and I'm like, "Hi, how are you?" And she goes, "Ticket, please." And I went, "Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes." She goes, "Where?" And she goes, "Empty your pockets, please." I said, "What?" She goes, "Yeah, no." She goes, "What's that in your pocket?" She literally makes me empty my pockets. I've never experienced that at any movie theater in my life, and this was a Regal Cinema one. So much for being nice to this lady. So anyway, so I go in, and I scan my ticket, and she says, "Your auditorium is not open yet, sir. You're going to have to wait." Okay, so I just walk, and I just find a bench, and the movie theater had the velvet rope up, so it was indicating that you couldn't go in. So I just sit down on a bench, and I just put my ear pods in, and I just start watching videos on YouTube, and I've got my head down, and I'm just looking down. And as I'm looking down, I see a set of sneakers come right up in my view. Like there's a guy standing right in front of me. And I look up, and I take my earbuds off, and I say, it was the guy was a manager. He was probably in his 40-something years old. He goes, "Excuse me, sir. We're going to need you to move. You're making a lot of people uncomfortable right now." And I said, what do you mean I'm making people uncomfortable right now? And no sooner do I hear that than I hear a flush of a toilet. And I realized that I had sat on the bench I chose was right to the entrance of the ladies' room. And I didn't know. And I said, he goes, "You're making a lot of people uncomfortable right now." And I said, "Oh my God, I didn't realize this is where I'm sitting." She said, "Yeah, yeah. And you got your phone out. It's not a good look." I said, "Okay, I'm so sorry." So I get up, and by this point, the theater opens up, and I walk in, and look, there's probably 25 people in the theater, and it's all just women in there. And they're all looking at me like, "Oh, that's the guy that was just sitting by the men's or by the ladies' room." And so I just walk in, and they're all just looking at me. And I sit down, and I just sit down, and I'm just like, and like you ever get that feeling that everyone's just sort of staring at you? Well, the movie starts. 5 minutes in, an usher walks in. He walks up to me. He goes, "Excuse me, sir, can I see your ticket?" And I was just like, "You got to be kidding me." Anyway, so somebody had complained about me. So that was a theater story. That was kind of a theater day, if you will, baseball game, the whole nine. So anyway,
Oh, Dana,
you're making people uncomfortable. I said, "What? What do you mean?" I turn around. I'm like, "Oh, sorry." I didn't realize.
Dana, sometimes, like 90% of the time, your theater stories are things that happen to you. This one I'm going to go ahead and chalk up to you walking down the players tunnel, hanging out by the women's restroom. Yeah, those are on you, my friend. Those are on you.
None of that was intentional, by the way.
No,
was just chalked it up to I did not know where I was at.
Would never accuse those of being intentional. Perhaps less attentive than you could have been.
Absolutely.
So, going all the way back to you mentioning movies that people were watching. So I watched my first Wakaliwood movie today. Have you ever heard of Wakaliwood, Dana?
No, I haven't.
So Wakaliwood is Adam says you could have gotten a baseball if you'd stayed on course and gotten into that damn locker room. Wakaliwood is a studio in Uganda that the guy that owns the studio has decided to pay to make movies that he loves. And they're all like big over the top action movies, but they're made for like I'm not kidding, $150. And the one I watched today was called Bad Black. It's streaming on Amazon Prime. And if you like the concept of like the DIY, just get some friends together and make a fucking movie spirit, y'all definitely want to watch Bad Black.
He said it's on Amazon Prime.
It's streaming for free on Amazon Prime. It was put out by AGFA, which for those who don't know is the American Genre Film Academy Association, something like that. They put it out on Blu-ray, but it's streaming legitimately for free on Amazon Prime. And it is bonkers. Barry's taken off. He's got to hit the hay. It's 2:16 a.m. where he is. Thanks for joining us, Barry. Have a good night.
Thanks, Barry. We'll talk soon, my friend. I appreciate that. I'm glad you stayed too. All right. Kay Rodriguez says, question, Mike, how many horror movies off the top of your head that use female mention? Okay. Where are we going with this? Okay.
No, but that's in fairness to Kay, that's a legit question.
Okay, I'll let you read that because I just caught the first part, but I didn't read the rest of the question. I was like, where are we going with this?
How many horror movies off the top of my head use female menstruation as a theme regarding the female acquiring some sort of powers? I think it's a fair argument that The Exorcist does.
Yes.
The first one that I immediately thought of was, and of course, I'm drawing a complete blank on it because it's a Canadian werewolf movie with Catherine Isabelle. That I cannot remember the name of. There's three of them.
Ginger Snaps?
Ginger Snaps. Thank you, Dana.
Yep.
Ginger Snaps is the one that I think is the most like, bam, that's the theme. That's what they're talking about. You could argue that the modern cat people is similar. Obviously, Carrie and John Francois just said Ginger Snaps. It's a pretty common theme. I can't give you a number because it's actually a surprisingly common theme. And in fact, to a certain extent, awakening sexuality is a common horror theme for men and women.
Okay. All right. That's well. Let's see. Do I have another theater story to tell? No, I'm just kidding. Let's see. I don't know, Mike. What do you think?
Well, we're still getting some pretty good. Like, what do you guys think? Let us know.
She said, Kay Rodriguez said teeth. That's a good one.
Teeth is a good one.
That's
teeth
a good
is
one.
A very good one. And that's the tough part. Is it's kind of like menstruation / puberty because it's hard to know because teeth is certainly not puberty. She's an adult, but it's clearly menstruation. There's quite a few. It's actually interesting. I actually just watched a movie today called Even Lambs Have Teeth, which is it's a rape revenge movie where the rape is somewhat minimized and the revenge is maximized, which theoretically should be great. But Dana, have you ever seen a movie? Have you ever seen Coraline Farget's Revenge?
Is that the one that came out last year?
Yeah.
Yep. I did see that film.
Yeah, where she's thrown off the cliff and Even Lambs Have Teeth, okay? So Even Lambs Have Teeth does everything wrong that Revenge did right. It wants to be empowering. It wants to be, but the problem is it's written and directed by a dude. And so it still has that weird like male gaze. Whereas since Revenge was written and directed by a woman, it manages to nail those things better. That's why I don't remember a lot of horror movies that have like menstruation as a good theme because so many of them are written and directed by men. And so they just don't come across well.
Kay Rodriguez, Revenge, not the Costner film. That's correct. I believe that Revenge is streaming on Shudder right now.
It is. It's a Shudder exclusive. If you have Shudder, it's on Blu-ray, but for streaming, it's a Shudder exclusive, and it is absolutely fucking fantastic.
Oh, okay. Let's see here. Danny says unrelated, but there was a very odd film I saw years ago with Jason Mewes and several others well-known actors. I think it was called Feast. Anyone ever watch it? I have not seen it. I've heard of it. I have not seen it.
Feast,
Mike?
I have seen. Feast is funny. Feast 2 and 3 are terrible. But Feast is funny. Feast is a good watch. Kay, it's not body horror. It's straight up rape revenge. This girl, they try and rape her and then they try and kill her and she comes back to get her revenge. That sounds terrible. And normally I wouldn't like it, but Coraline Farget is such a phenomenal director. And she takes just such a different angle to it that I think it's a fantastic movie.
It's a visually striking movie, and at the same time, be warned, it is incredibly violent in some parts. Would you agree, Mike?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In fact, crazy violent.
Let's see. Let's see. Kay Rodriguez says, did she direct Tension?
No, this is her first movie. Jean Francois says soundtrack from Rob is amazing. Yes, soundtrack from Rob is amazing in Revenge. And Zach says Revenge has brutal redemption. Yeah, if I've accomplished anything tonight, or if we've accomplished anything tonight, Dana, it's getting people to watch Revenge.
Yeah, and let me just check and see if Shutter's still offering that deal right now. In the month of March, Shutter was giving a free month away. Let's see. Does Shutter have a free trial? Let's see. You can Google it. I know sometimes they do give a free month away every once in a while. Sometimes the promo code you have to use changes from time to time. I know the promo code in the month of March was shut in, all one word. I'm Googling it now and it's saying that the promo code is Horror Hound, but let me see how old that is. I don't want to send anybody in the wrong direction here.
Well, and regardless, Shutter is only $5 a month. So
Yeah,
like it's you watch 2 movies and you've paid for it.
But there's totally a free trial as well, even
Yeah.
if it's 7 days. But
Yeah.
but if someone's like really like itching to watch Revenge, or they got really let's see, Kay Rodriguez. I'm sorry, no discount code from the Dana Buckler show. I'm trying, all right. I'm working, doing my best to try to help you out here. But no, Shutter. Like here's a bottom line about Shutter. I signed up for that free 1 month trial. Totally going to keep it. Like 100%. It's worth the $5 a month, without a doubt.
So I do about 6 months I do about 6 months on. You know how I said earlier, I start saving up horror movies for Scary Movie Month. So in about August, I end up signing up for Shudder, and I'll keep that through the end of the year. And then in January, I'll cancel it. And that's what I love about streaming services. When people are like, oh, it's the same amount as cable. It's like, it's not, because I can start and stop all of the, it's like, well, had we not had the pandemic, I would have signed up. I would have reactivated my WWE Network subscription for WrestleMania this year, because I do that every year. And then I just watch for like a month or two as much wrestling as I possibly can, and then put it on pause. Adam asked us a phenomenal question that I think is worth talking about, Dana. What sport do you think has the best movies?
Football. That's the personal preference. I think a lot of people will say baseball. But for me, I would say football. No, God, no, it's probably baseball. No, now I'm trying to be diplomatic here.
No, do your thing. What if you think football? Why? What movies?
Rudy. I think Rudy is one of the great movies of all time. I'm trying to go back 3 months ago. I did a sports movie draft with my friend Bill Searcy, and we talked about all these movies. And we made the decision that it was really difficult to try to come up with a top 10 list. For me personally, see, Adam says boxing is his pick, and you know what? It's hard to argue against that. But I'm gonna stick with my immediate answer was football. That was the first thing that came to my mind, so that's gonna have to be. I'm gonna have to go with my answer on that one. When I watch movies like Any Given Sunday, Friday Night Lights, Rudy, I mean, these movies, I love those movies. Remember the Titans. It's my favorite sport, so I guess that's kind of also where my thought process is. Mike?
I guess it kind of depends on how you view the best movies. If we're talking about the best movie, then I'm going to say hockey, because I personally believe that Miracle is the best sports movie that's ever been made. If we want quantity over quality, I'm kind of inclined, as long as we include MMA / martial arts, and I'm not talking action martial arts. As long as we include MMA, I'm kind of inclined to agree with Adam, because you got Rocky and the whole Rocky series, which includes Creed and Creed 2. You've also got Warrior, which is one of my favorite sports movies. I think that's a perfect sports movie. So I'm a bit I don't know. It's tough. It's a hard, like, there's not a sports genre that hasn't had at least one like all-timer movie, right? Like, I mean, every sport you can name has had an all-timer movie.
Adam had to bring up Gladiator. Oh,
Who doesn't love
I
Gladiator?
love that movie.
Who doesn't love that?
James Marshall,
Yep.
Cuba Gooding Jr., Brian Dennehy.
Top of the head, strongest part of the body.
I'm telling
Like,
you,
it's
the best.
amazing. I
It's
love
the best.
Gladiator.
That's my pseudonym for the rest of this movie, for the rest of the stream live stream. I just want you to call me Gladiator. So
Yeah, it's got one of Warrant's best songs. Warrant covers "We Will Rock You." Cheap Trick does "I Will Survive," which is one of Cheap Trick's absolute best songs. Gladiator is incredible. Everybody thinks the Russell Crowe Gladiator. I do not. I immediately go to the James Marshall, Cuba Gooding Jr. Gladiator.
absolutely,
Directed by
Roddy
Roadhouse's
Harrington.
Rowdy Harrington. Yep.
Roddy Harrington. Yep.
Yep.
Oh, it's up there with Roadhouse.
Yeah.
All right.
No, Gladiators. Like, I hope that at some point Gladiator gets because when Roadhouse came out, it wasn't until like 2001, 2002, the Roadhouse got reassessed as the masterpiece that it is. I really, really hope that Gladiator at some point gets reassessed. As the biggest problem is, it's not easy to. It hasn't gotten the releases that Roadhouse has gotten. Shout Factory or Arrow needs to put out Gladiator.
Speaking of Rowdy Harrington, did you ever see his film A Murder of Crows with Cuba Gooding Jr.?
I did. I don't remember much about it. I saw it a long time ago, but I don't remember much about it.
Unfortunately, you can see the big twist 10 minutes into the film if you pay attention. So, but it's an interesting film. Let's see here. The Fighter 2 is The Gladiator with Ken Wall.
No, different Gladiator. Ken Wall is not in this one. It's Gladiator, not The Gladiator. Gladiator 1992. It's got James Marshall from Twin Peaks, Cuba Gooding Jr., Brian Dennehy, Cara Buono. Basically about underground boxing, and hits every cliche you could possibly want, and I don't mean that in a negative way. Cliches are not bad, folks. If there's one thing you take away from hopefully listening to me, cliches are not bad. It's how you use them that makes them bad.
Absolutely. That was a movie. I watched Gladiator quite a bit because it was in 93 that I moved to the United States. And, that movie opens up with James Marshall. He's a new kid in school, and so I was trying to just kind of emulate his attitude my first few days at school. Like, no one's going to mess with me. I'm going to be cool. I got this. Like, that was a movie. I think I owned it or I had taped it off of HBO or something because I used to watch it all the time. I love that movie.
Yeah, no, it's terrific. So I am a sucker for, as somebody who watches a lot of martial arts movies, I understand the concept of the sort of the Bruce Lee, one of the sort of pinnacles of martial arts final fights is Bruce Lee versus Chuck Norris in Return of the Dragon. And Bruce Lee gets his ass kicked for the first half of the fight, and then he starts using his own style and comes back and kicks the shit out of Chuck Norris. And I am always appreciative of a movie that can use that trope effectively. And my God, Gladiator uses that as well as damn near any movie that I've ever seen. It is such a perfect final fight in that movie. I love it. I love that movie.
Absolutely. Well, listen, on that note, I think we're going to have to wrap it up, Mike, or you can stay on. I'm going to have to wrap it up on my end.
No, I got to wrap it up. Unfortunately, I gotta wrap it up on my end as well. So, unfortunately, we still have stuff. Zach, best Paul Dano movie. Hit us up on DMs or on Twitter if you want us to answer that, because we do have to wrap it up. But yeah, it's time to go. Everybody, thank you though.
Yeah, thank you as always, and we'll probably shoot to do this again this weekend. And thanks, Adam. We appreciate it. And Just a quick reminder for the show. Mike and I have already recorded the Terminator 3 and the Terminator Salvation podcast. I'm working on getting those edited and out this week. We'll be recording Terminator Salvation. No, excuse me. We'll be recording Terminator Genesis this weekend. And I've also recorded an episode with Annalise from the Dark Angels and Pretty Freaks podcast. That will be out, I think, Friday. That's another one of the lockdown sessions. And I think that's it, right? Nothing else to plug, right?
No. K. Rodriguez asked if we can go back to Thursday night. I don't see any reason we can't do this more than once a week, Dana, but that's up to you.
What is today? Today's Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Are we talking like next Thursday night, or are we talking tomorrow?
We wouldn't do tomorrow. We would be like next Thursday night.
Well, I was hoping that we could probably do this maybe this Friday or Saturday. Because Mike and I are going to talk about it. We're going to try. We will get another live stream in before next Thursday. But yeah, we can probably do it on Thursday. We don't really have a set schedule. Maybe we should set a schedule. I don't know. I'm just talking out loud.
Yeah, no, we could. Everybody, if depending on what you want, reach out to us on Twitter or Instagram. Reach out to me on Twitter, Dana on Instagram. K. Rodriguez said, "Let's all watch a movie together." Yeah, we can also do a Netflix watch party. Reach out to us on those respective social media platforms. I don't do Facebook, so reach out to Dana on Facebook. And let us know. My Instagram, K, is Hibachi Justice, just like everything. But I rarely check it, so you're much better off reaching out to me on Twitter. If you don't have Twitter, I'll find you on Instagram. But let us know what you guys want. We don't do... I mean, we're like everybody else. We're stuck at home, so we can figure this stuff out.
Absolutely. All right, guys, thank you very much, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everybody.